Hi there, welcome to the halftime huddle. As I said last week, we're rebooting this. It started way back in, well, a couple of years back, and it was a response to the fact that a lot of people running their businesses go from, day to day. They spend a lot of their time just on their own, trying to find some different ways to keep themselves motivated. And halfway through the week, often it's the time when things start to pull away from them. So it was an opportunity to come in, say hi, have a little bit of chat, share some ideas, and also share some conversations. And we're lucky today to have someone to come and have a conversation with me. So I will, without hanging around, there you go. She's just told me she can't hear me. I hope she can hear me now. Just pass you through. We've got Philippa Coles from Share 3. Hi, Philippa.
No, hello.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So how are
Thank you
you?
very much.
A bit of a hiccup at the beginning. I turned you off. I didn't want you to hear what I was saying because I was talking all about you. No, I wasn't talking about you at all.
Secret.
That's what you're here for. You're here to talk about yourself. So, and with that, really, I'd like to sort of start off and say, welcome, Philippa, to the halftime huddle, and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Say what Share 3 is, who you are, a little bit of why you do it. So just introduce who you are and go for it.
Brill, thank you very much. It's absolutely lovely to be here. And as you said, I'm Philippa Coles. I am an shameless techie. I'll just put that right out there right now. I absolutely adore technology, and I'm a developer and a consultant. And earlier this year, myself and two of my favorite humans, we went into business with each other, and we now have a company called Share 3, which we named not only because there are three of us, but rather geekily, it's a maths pun as well. And so the three at the end of it is to the power of three. And that comes from the fact that we've worked with each other for a while now. 13 years we've been working on projects together. And one of the things that we noticed is when you put the three of us on a project, everything gets amplified, and we have so much fun working together. And so the power of three came out of that, which is, obviously a very popular concept anyway. Everybody loves a three. We all think in threes. And now we're having great fun putting together a portfolio of services for companies, and hopefully adding much more value to the technology that they use in their companies. So we produce document management systems, databases, workflows, automation, mobile apps. We make all our solutions AI ready. It's a lot of fun. So we're on the journey now.
Brilliant, brilliant, and I love the idea you're talking about the power of three. Very much what we do here at A Game Masterminds is about the power of people working together. And you're right, it's not just 1+1 = 2. These things are exponential, and there's they talk about compounding a lot in finance. When you add people together, it's very much a compound effect. So yeah, I love that. A great idea.
Yeah, I love that. And the idea of compound knowledge and compound sharing is at the heart of everything that leads us. So yeah, it's a very fun place to be.
Brilliant. And anything particular that you spend your time doing? What do you spend your time day to day doing? The three of you work together, as I presume. Is it sort of you go in, or is it a remote sort of type?
It's remote working. We are a fully remote organization, so we'll see clients face to face as and when they want to. But otherwise, I live in a rectangle, very happy in my rectangle. And days are quite different. We could be doing so many different things. We're working on a project at the moment where we are auditing a document management system that has got out of hand, well over 100,000 documents for a small company. And we're getting them to think about the fact that digital waste or your digital footprint isn't nearly as free or nearly as non-existent as you might think it is. We made this amazing move from paper-based offices to digital offices, but we've created a few new problems that we need to work through. So we're doing an audit there, which is wonderful. And at the same time, I run Teams webinars, trying to help people get everything they can out of every feature because it's so prevalent now in work. I particularly enjoy helping the people who feel nervous about living in our little squares and find, Teams meetings can be quite intimidating sometimes. So I enjoy that aspect. And then the next thing you know, I might just be trying to find a document that was accidentally deleted and it's an emergency and somebody's said, Philippa, please just help us find it.
Very true. We're right about the the problem we're getting ourselves in. I know someone was a way back. We were talking about hard disks and disk space in one of the workplaces we were in, and they made. And I don't know the figures, so I'm not gonna introduce the figures. But we're talking about gigabytes and terabytes worth of data, and they made a small instance of Shakespeare's full life works would fit on a tiny amount of all of the stuff you're doing, and so we do create a lot of waste, and B, it's a lot of time trying to find and navigate through all this waste. And there's also the carbon footprint. I know I recommended someone was talking about we're all trying to push to go carbon neutral and
that's right,
etc. And they say, oh, we're now paperless. We've got all our stuff in email, but they forget that the Google or the Outlook or the other kinds of email providers out there are all spending a little bit of electricity to sort of storing all the stuff we've got. So simple thing, someone told me once, the simple thing to do to at least take some of the load out of that is to actually physically, properly fully delete all your deleted messages.
Yes, yes,
simple
absolutely.
thing.
And really be purposeful about when you're creating documents. We all got into this habit of thinking that these are all free, that it's just empty space. It doesn't matter if I dump this document here or if I create the 14th version of this policy, and just having a document management system in place that will take care of it for you is a no-brainer. I mean, it's absolutely a gift for businesses now that this technology exists.
Oh, absolutely, and coming much like you, coming from a technology basis, document management and was very important and useful for coding stuff like that. And now, with all our stuff going digital as well as the coding stuff, it's you're right. It is, and it allows you to I would imagine. I have to be honest, I haven't looked for a while. It imagines you to share increments rather than the whole thing. A lot of people share 15 million versions of the same thing in full on their hard drive. Whereas with a document management system, they just share the increments, which can reduce it by quite a significant amount. So there we go. We're geeking out together. That's really good.
Yeah, love it. I did admit it right at the beginning.
You did admit it, and which is quite nice, which is good. So for those people who are going all glazy-eyed, we will talk about other things that aren't geeky out there at some stage. So hopefully, you won't. We won't lose all those people thinking, "Oh my goodness, it's geeky." But I am a geek at heart, and one of the things I do like to find out about. We talked about origin story, which hints at some of my background in terms of comics and superheroes and stuff like that. I love a comic, and my kids and I always go to the latest superhero movie and all that kind of stuff. I do love them. One thing I'm always keen on, because what I quite like to spend a bit of time is to think about what your superpower is, and on the flip side, what your kryptonite is. What is the thing that you have a problem with? So if you're happy to share that with, I'd love to hear what you think, what your superpower is, and if you're happy to let all your enemies know what your kryptonite is, then we'd love that too.
My kryptonite is the same as my superpower. Bear with me on this one. I think they are both one and the same thing. So my personal superpower, I think, is that I have a unrelenting love of people. I adore them all. I absolutely adore people. I love spending time with them. I love finding out everything about them. I love the way that we're so silly and sometimes illogical, and I love all that about us. And that means that I have a lot of ideas, that I love to get involved in projects. I adore championing people. But then the flip side might be the kryptonite of you don't always have to be involved. And it's often a case of, have you bitten off more than you can chew? So I've had to put tools and methodologies in place as I've grown up. I had to put them in place to make sure that that edges towards superpower and not kryptonite. But I think it can be a double-edged sword, can't it?
I think you're right. I think often these things are, two sides of a coin, the heads and tails of one part of your or characteristics is, a thing you're good at, and it can also turn into a thing you're not very good at, or causes you grief. So
Yes.
so your kryptonite for those people who are hearing you is you're too nice, basically.
I don't
You're
know.
too nice. Oh, you're not
find
too nice.
myself as kind, but not necessarily
Okay.
nice. I
Fair
don't
enough.
know. I don't want to claim something that could be evidence.
Okay. But you're interested in people and love people and get and on the flip side can get way too involved. Is that what you would say, your kryptonite?
I have to be really careful where I put my time, and where I can be most useful, and where I need to step back and let other people find the use of their time. And letting go of things is probably something that I consistently work towards. I absolutely keep on top of that one so that it doesn't veer me off path.
And it is a very much a lesson that people spend a long time learning, if they ever do learn, is when to say no rather than to yes all the time.
It's time management, if nothing else, to be honest, because I want to say yes to everything. If anyone asks me to do something, I want to say yes, because more often than not, it's very interesting. I get distracted by shiny things. This is what my co-founders tell me. They said, "Is that a shiny thing, Philippa? Like, if it is, sit on it, enjoy it, but you don't have to do anything with it."
Oh, indeed. I'm always reminded. I have the same challenge is shiny things, and it always reminds me of the dog in Up, the squirrel. That's the thing. Yeah, absolutely. Where again? So yeah, I always have to remind myself: is that a squirrel or is it just a real thing? So no, very good, and I'm glad you're coming to because a lot of people just don't. They're just distracted. They're all over the place, which is brilliant.
It's very hard not to take it as a personal weakness. And I decided early on, let's not take this personally. Let's just think of it as it is and then see what we could do to make sure that that doesn't throw you off track. Because I don't see it as a weakness if it doesn't throw you off track.
Absolutely. And I was talking to a friend of mine who runs a thing called, has got a thing called, for the life of me, I am going to murder the name of this, but it's strong suits. It's a and one of the things we talked about, and he teaches people how to use it in teams and stuff like that. So you're much better playing to your strengths, much better doing the things that you're really good at,
Yes.
than trying to and excuse those people who may hear me try to be less shit at the things you're not very good at. And that's just sorry.
Amplify the strength. That's where the energy should go. Absolutely right. Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. And that's the same thing about, getting the shiny object. You're much better finishing something and getting better at that thing than chasing all these little shiny objects. Although shiny objects are also opportunities. So who knows? You never know. Exactly. At least to have them there is a good idea. And to notice them is the thing.
I think the most important thing is that just don't beat yourself up about it. You'll learn something along the way. And if it wasn't ideal, well, you'll just make a different decision next time. It's not the end of the world.
Absolutely. One thing you mentioned when we started talking about your kryptonite, that you'd set some tools and some processes in place.
Yes.
Oh, so I'd love to hear what you do and how you stop yourself getting too distracted.
So I have goals that I set myself. It's very regimented, and I use that as my organization method. So I have lots of business ideas. I love it. I have lots and lots of ideas on products and services that I think will be useful to people. And I have a series of people that I want to be. So, for example, one of my goals is very simple. It's Mum of the Year. That's one of my goals. It's a bit trite, it's just a bit of fun. But then what I do is, let's say I'm going through my email in the morning, I will look at them and I will assign them my goal. So if it's an email from my son's school and I have to action something, then that's against Mum of the Year. If I don't action this, I'm not the person I want to be. If I'm having a difficult conversation with somebody and I want to be a compassionate person, but I want to be an effective person, then I can't necessarily just be the nice person. I have to put that against my goal where I want to bring out the best in people. And sometimes telling them what they want to hear isn't going to help me reach that goal. So these are the methods that I measure against because I feel safe in that. I feel like I can stay on track that way because it's always taking me to the people that I want to be. Does that make sense?
No, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant. There's a book that I came across a while back called Alter Ego by
Yes.
obviously, yeah, you know about it, and basically it also plays into my my dreams of superheroes and supervillains and kryptonite and all that, you know, that my childish stuff. I'm, you know, great, may have grey hair, but I still haven't grown up.
Never do it.
Absolutely, and it's a great sort of feeling of stepping into that person who you want to be, and he's very much around finding the alter ego that helps you become the person you want to be, and
Yes.
using little triggers to help you remind yourself of that. You know, simple things like, I know people. I can't remember for life of me where I first saw it. People do things like, if they're going to go and speak on stage, they stand before and in the Wonder Woman power stance or,
Yes.
or whatever, to, you know, I'm a powerful
Yes,
person,
exactly. They'll
ready
invoke.
to go in. Yeah, I'm now stepping into that. And he also mentions, I think it was Beyonce and Sasha Fierce or whatever it
Sasha
was. Yeah,
Fierce.
yeah,
Yes.
indeed.
Isn't that a really interesting way of
Yes,
becoming a persona without it being dangerous to you? That persona can take on the weight of being a public personality. I found that very interesting.
absolutely. And I love the idea of you having various different goals and identifying them with a particular person or a person you want to be because of those goals, which is a great way of keeping motivated, which is, you know, part and parcel of what we're doing here is finding little tips and tricks for people to keep themselves focused during the week. Because, you know, like I said, a Monday, we all wake up on it. Well, sometimes we do. We wake up on a Monday, depends on what the weekend's been like. Yeah. But we often wake up on a Monday, we're all keen to champion and make the most of the week, and then Wednesday comes and or you look back and think, oh, what's happened? But having that idea of keeping yourself motivated by recognizing who you want to be in certain situations and having that as a goal and remembering that as you go along can keep you focused, which sounds like a great idea.
It's a way of topping up your self-esteem as well. You're giving yourself just a little bit of reassurance. You're okay. You're a decent human being. You're doing the best you can. Crack on. But it's funny what you say about the Monday. I try and treat Mondays like it's January the 1st. You know, the enthusiasm that comes. It's a new year, new me. I can achieve anything. I try and treat every Monday like that. And then I get high levels of energy that can maybe afford to be brought down during the week.
Boosting is that overpowering yourself for the beginning of the week, so that even if you do lose a little bit of oomph as you go along, you still got plenty of oomph to get to the end of the week. Is that your aim?
Yeah, exactly. And things like this is an amazing thing to do on a Wednesday. It really gives you such a great middle point at which to say, well, I'm not done yet. This has fired me up.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point of that. And for those people who come across and stumble across this or are listening to this now, which double check, this is where vanity goes in. Oh, that we've got no one looking and listening, but people will come across this later on. If you want to come and take part in this, do say hi, because this is a great opportunity to share what you do, to share some tips and tricks, because we all. This is going back to your share 3. We all get better when we understand and work together. And by working together on sharing what we do, sharing the ideas and the tips and the tricks, We don't have to make the same mistakes other people make. You can learn from their mistakes. It's a lot easier to do that. Unfortunately, there was a quote, and I can't remember who it's from. I think it's either from Roald Dahl or someone like that. And but don't think it is Roald Dahl, because that's a hint. But it was around the fact that we are, as human beings, we can learn from our mistakes, but very often we don't. And you learn from other people's mistakes even better.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Every single incremental move you can make. Have you read Atomic Habits? That's a great book that I enjoyed. And the 1% rule. You don't have to be perfect. You literally just have to shuffle yourself forward 1% better.
No, absolutely. And we talked about compounding. Definitely you'd be surprised how that 1% turns into a huge difference. If you're 1% better every day of the time you were beforehand, it won't be long before you're a hugely different person, and a much you've moved much further along the way. So you only need to make incremental change. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I think we lie to ourselves sometimes, and we say to ourselves, this is too big for us. It's too big. Therefore, we won't even damage ourselves by putting us in that position. But it's just a 1% job. You got this.
Yep. And there is another understanding that essentially we underestimate what we can do in a 5 or 10 year period, in a long period, but we overestimate what we can do in a small period. We think everything's linear.
Yeah.
We think to go from A to B, it's linear. So essentially, if I've got to do that, I've got to strung along, but it's not. It compounds. If you add onto it the 1%, it compounds. So you think you're going to get there, but because you're compounding, you can get to there. So you can really shoot for the stars if you do that 1%, that small change every so often.
And when you stagger those compound efforts, the moment the curve goes up, all of a sudden you are caught up in that momentum, and then it's just Newton's physics. A moving item will keep moving. You absolutely feel that, and it's exciting. It's a great place to be when that compound effort starts showing itself.
And like you say, it all starts with baby steps at the beginning, or compound 1% changes. Absolutely, yeah. I love that. I love that. So, if we talk about tools, I know you tell yourself you're a techie. Other techie tools we talk about personal development type tools and tools to keep yourself motivated. But what are your favorite actual techie tools? Because sorry guys who are going to listen to this and glaze over a little bit. But what are your techie tools? What are you?
I'm going to throw out there a tool that is going to get some eye rolling. It is the most undervalued tool, I think, personally, that's open to businesses. It's open to businesses who have Microsoft products. So if you've got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and you have their cloud tenancy, there's a product called Sway, and I use it all the time. And Microsoft doesn't talk about it.
Write it down. Yep.
Just sit in there, and Sway is a bit like PowerPoint, except that you're creating web pages that you can just share publicly wherever you like. And they're very light, because once you're done with them, you just delete the Sway and it doesn't stay anywhere. So I create them for my webinars. I create them to explain a concept to a client before I take on a project. And it's a web page. And they're so easy to create. They're just like creating a Word document. And it's one of my favorite tools. And I know that nobody uses it. So if you're out there, any other Sway devotees, come.
Yeah, there's a small core of Sway converts. So we talk about Microsoft products. I am sitting on a Mac. I do use Microsoft products. Is this available in that ecosystem as well?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Anyone who has a Hotmail account or an Outlook account, or they have access to the online Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you'll find that it's sitting there in the top left-hand corner. You'll see your apps, and it was just hiding, just innocently minding its own business. I create them to go in my signature in my email, so that I have a link at the bottom of my email, putting forward the message that I want to have in that quarter, as I tend to put out specific work messages per quarter. And then they can click on that link, open up my Sway, and it acts like a temporary website.
Great idea. So for those people who are doing things like Linktree,
Yes,
don't
yes,
bother. Create a
very
sway.
similar.
Mm,
Yeah, indeed. Use whatever tool matches the
mm.
purpose that you need it to have. So I find that that one, and I don't know what it says about me, but I like the fact that it's not very popular.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's nice to find something sort of unusual you can talk to people about. I will be after we go on this. I will be having a look at Sway because I do love
Yes.
that kind of idea. I use Norton. So
Oh yeah.
and again, sometimes with Norton you can create a page that goes live. But
Yes.
Sway sounds like an ideal opportunity to play around with that kind of this because like you say, sometimes you just want something temporary. If
Yeah,
you just want to send some stuff that you want to share with a small community or your clients or whatever, and
that's
you just want to
right.
share it, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Great for sales brochures that need to be updated constantly. Nobody wants to go to their web developer all the time for things that they're working on. So once you've then got a format or a framework that you're really proud of that becomes part of your brand identity, of course, move it onto your website. That makes sense.
Is there? Do people? Can you have multiple access to it? Because one of the things
Yeah.
you've got me so you can have multiple people editing it and changing it.
You can share with collaborators so that they can edit it and you all can work
Mm.
together. And then there's a read-only link. You generate either a hyperlink or a QR code or a visual link that embeds an HTML snippet into email. And that's it. That's all I'm doing. I'll be quiet now. And it can go wherever you want it to go.
It's a great idea for collaborative note taking, problem solving, etc. By having a small document that you can all share and play and throw ideas at. That's a great idea as
And
well.
it
I love that
has
stuff.
animations and it has lovely scrolling effects. And you can make it look exciting for those who need that dopamine hit.
So
Me.
yeah, I can say another shiny object. Swirly things, and shiny things. Yeah, brilliant. I love that. So I
Absolutely.
will,
Bring
I
me
will
those
definitely, I
squirrels.
will go away and have a look at Sway.
Brill.
Definitely after all that. You talk about, collaboration and working with other people. I know you say you've got your people you work together with your three colleagues. I suppose you can call them
Yes.
co-founders
Yes,
or
my
whatever you would call
founders.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. I love
How often
meeting
do
them.
you contact each other? You do have like a daily catch up, or what do you do to keep in touch and keep because you're all remote?
We keep our personal communications and our work communications separate. That was something we agreed very early on. So we would probably catch up with each other probably every work day. It depends how exciting life has been and we need to share the information. But work-wise, every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning to build up the momentum for the week, we have check-ins first thing in the morning. The first 15 minutes of those check-ins are absolutely dedicated to we called it the mental health check. We just with 15 minutes to say if you haven't transitioned from whatever your morning did into our kind of work mindset, let's get that out now. And then it's just sympathy, compassion, empathy. Just for 15 minutes, come bring me your ills. And then that allows us to make that mental switch to work, which I think is a tricky thing to do when you're so close with the people that you work with. They are my friends. I mean, they're my co-founders and I respect them hugely as my peers and my colleagues, but they're also my friends. And that's a very careful dynamic to manage. So we do it that way.
That sounds a great idea. And in terms of other kinds of contacts, do you go out networking much, or is it mostly
Very
virtual
much so.
networking, or do you do any?
Very, very much so. So we have a very strong consultative networking approach to
That's
marketing, which we take on board for ourselves individually. At the point that we are with the company and its growth, we're doing it. We're doing it. Anyone who has started a business will be nodding here. Oh, you do it yourself. What a surprise. And that will change as we scale, but the fun of it, isn't it? Getting out there and talking to people. I really think it might be. Um,
absolutely, and then it plays into your superpower, doesn't it?
yeah, and I mix them, virtual events and face-to-face events, formal network, informal networking. I personally run retro-based networking events where I frame everything that we talk about under cultural memes. So you're aware that I'm doing one about the
Yes, I
80s.
was gonna try and bring that up a little bit at some stage. I was hoping we would come across that.
Yeah, so I mean that's for funsies as far as I'm concerned. Why wouldn't you frame it within the A team? What a lot of lovely insights to group dynamics and teamwork does the A team offer, and a great excuse to just go and listen to the theme tune anytime I feel down. I've got one that's all about friends and the phenomenon it had in the 90s about this idea of kinship and how it was the challenges that really brought that storyline to the fore. And so what are the challenges that we face that brings us together as businesses? There's another one that's on faulty towers. I mean, it's niche. It's
That's,
niche.
yes, indeed.
But I love it because when you bring people together with these very niche ideas, already there's a sense that we can all work together on this. There's some value to be had here.
There's just something about well-formed, well created fictional of some kind of dynamic stuff, because
Yeah.
the ones that last and the ones that you know that definitely sort of stand the test of time are very much hooked into the psyche of the way we as human beings work. So there's a lot we can learn from looking at some of these long-term, well-defined, well-structured, interactive type sort of fiction, basically.
I think so. I think that these things provide us with these archetypes that let
Yeah,
us play around with the idea of who we want to be and who we want to align ourselves with in a really safe space. Because I'm not B.A. Baracus, but could I be that kind of active person that, gives the energy and the practical application of solutions to the world? Yeah, of course I can.
absolutely. And I'm very much into, again, from some of my background, I'm very much into what we do at a game is around creating teams of mastermind small business groups, and very
Yeah,
much dynamics and archetypes and types of people in there is important. So it's important for me
so
to
important.
create a team that has the right kind of interaction, the right kind of dynamic, the right kind of attitudes. So having someone in the team that is the healer. There's someone who can help and
Yeah,
support them in that respect, or having that kind of role and responsibility or ethos within that. Having someone who's very good at protection of the team and making sure they're working well. All that kind of stuff. Those team dynamics and those archetypes are a great way of thinking about how you can create dynamic interactions and dynamic relationships and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
I
it
think
also
so
reminds me of a
too.
book I came across a while back. Again, for my sins, I'm a Buffy fan. From we used to
Oh,
watch it with my kids.
Buffy. There you
Yeah,
go. There's my next one.
there you go. And there's a book. There's a great book that came out a while back. It's called "What Would Buffy Do?"
Yes, yes. I'm
And
very
it's
familiar. I have the pin. I have the little pin badge. What would Buffy do? But I
brilliant.
also have one to change the mood slightly and to give me a different perspective. I'll swap out the pin for the what would Dolly do?
Fair enough. Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's brilliant and superb. And one of the other things you can, and we talk about other kinds of tools. AI is great for doing that kind of stuff.
Yes,
You can
it
get it
really is.
to act as one of your
Yes.
role models, and ask it as if you've got them there with you. It's
I
brilliant.
won't lie. I've had conversations with the AI Dolly Parton. Of course I have.
Absolutely.
Who wouldn't?
Oh, absolutely. And for my sins, I created a Benjamin Franklin GPT sort
Oh,
of thing with all his stuff.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
so
Yes,
I can always
gives
find
me
out what would Ben do.
he did. He'd be very parsimonious. That's what he'd do.
It would be. It would be. It would be. He's also another role model of mine in terms of masterminds, because his group that he had a long while ago was one of the earlier ones that we know of, although they've
Yeah,
been going for ages. Anyhow, that's me being geeky about what I do. But yeah, that's
love it.
and I love that, and I love the fact that you're networking. I'm looking forward to coming to find out the one when you and to be honest. do share that in the comments. If you send me some details, we'll share that in the comments. So anybody else who wants to pity the fool and come along and they can
We are
hear
going to
it.
get a good plan together. Hannibal's going to be very proud of us.
Good, and I love it when a plan gets together. Yeah, absolutely, brilliant. So that and that's superb. So we could talk for ages. We could talk forever. I'm sure I could talk forever. There's one last thing, and I know you had a struggle with this. One last thing I do like to ask about this and it's purely for my own benefit. It's not for those people. We could even turn off now, and I just do it without it. I love reading. I love hearing other people's books, and I'm always writing down. As you can think about the fact that I drop books in, and you've dropped books in.
Yeah.
But one thing, and I nicked this question from Tim Ferriss, and he wanted to ask, for the same sort of reason, he loves reading as well. He wanted to ask all his guests that come on his podcast for a book recommendation. But basically, rather than what's your favorite book, because favorite books vary very much. And if you ask me what my favorite book is, generally the book I'm reading at the moment.
Yeah, of course. Exactly.
But what?
It's an impossible question.
Absolutely, and I could never narrow it down. But he framed it in a slightly different way, and he asked, "What book have you gifted or recommended the most to your friends and colleagues?" Which is a little bit different because it's not just your favorite book that you read yourself; it's one that you think has got value that you would want to share with someone else. And I know you sent me a message last night saying I can't get it down to the last two. I said, that's fine. Just give me two. That's fine. So, what are your two?
Way too much.
What are your two books that you would recommend for this?
Okay, so I came up with two, and I took to heart the idea, the one that you gift, because I gift books a lot. Everybody jokes about the fact, oh, what did you get from Philippa? A book. Of course you did. And I've got them. The very first one that I recommend everyone in the world read this, by an author called Catherine Rundle. Let's see if I can, there we go. Now this book is and I'll put the details, give you the details, is Why You Should Read Children's Books Even Though You Are So Old and Wise. It is a treatise on the value of children's literature and why adults cannot afford to let that part of their lives go. They must revisit it. And I give it to everyone.
That sounds a brilliant idea, and again to talk about what I do. Very much play and games are a part of what we do, and unfortunately, a lot of people think that they once they get to a certain age they should stop playing games and stop having fun and stop enjoying themselves and stop being childish, and that's completely opposite. It should be the other way around. We should never,
and it should never be forced. No forced fun. My fun may not be your fun, but that's why children's literature is so important, because we all can talk about those books that had an impact on us, and people have this fondness to it. It goes back to a place that was a defining moment for them. So revisiting that tells you so much about yourself. So
brilliant. Thank you very much. Book number one. Okay.
Do I have time for my second one?
Of course you do. You have plenty of time for your second one.
Now, this one, I hope you might have the eyebrows raised, because Neil Gaiman, are you familiar with Neil Gaiman?
I am, yeah.
Contribution to the absolute world of superheroes and comic books. He wrote a book called Art Matters. Illustrated by the intimidatingly talented Chris Riddle, who I adore. And Art Matters is a series of essays about how important it is to realize that it's your imagination that changes the world. People think that we can't change the world, but absolutely incrementally we change the world. And I'm going to push my luck, really push it. This is so self-indulgent. Hold with me. The best bit about this is my favorite passage, which is, books are the way that the dead communicate with us, the way that we learn lessons from those who are no longer with us, the way that humanity builds on itself, progresses, and makes knowledge incremental, rather than something that has to be relearned over and over. And I mean, come on. Some people just
absolutely. And there's very Neil Gaiman talking about death and the dead. Absolutely.
I love him for that. I do. I won't lie. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
No, I love Neil Gaiman's one of my favorite authors.
Yeah.
Another brilliant book.
For hours and hours and hours. He's got so much to say on so many things, and writes the most wonderful children's literature.
And he's another one for whom I remember listening to him talking about writing. And I'm a fountain pen fan, so I love the fact that he was talking about fountain pens and how he does.
Yeah.
He writes his book straight from pen in a notebook. He has a notebook per story or novel. And he says, he talks about writer's block, and this is way before we can get ChatGPT to break some of our writer's block. But he says one of the things. Absolutely, you already. We all do have it anyhow. There's plenty of ways we can get through writer's block. But anyhow, he has one method he uses, which he may well have even mentioned in the book, where he talks about he has his workspace in the garden, and he to be productive, he had one rule when he goes into that workspace is he can either write or do nothing.
Okay.
And when he means nothing, that means nothing. Not even think about things. He can do nothing. And he says,
hard time conceptualizing the idea of doing nothing. So
absolutely,
I know that
absolutely. And he says he finds it so hard to do nothing and so boring to do nothing that he starts writing really quickly. So that's the only rule he has for that. Once he enters into that sort of area and that space, he can only do one of two things. He can write or he can do nothing. And people can do nothing. People can sit and do nothing. But eventually it gets
for us.
Absolutely. But eventually it does get hard and it does get tiring, and the nothing turns into something you need to do. So in that case, the only thing you can do is write about it. So lovely book. Thank you very much for those two recommendations.
Sorry,
Neil Gaiman, one of my favorite authors, and you're right, very, very instrumental in a lot of superhero stories and origin stories, left, right, and center, etc. So very, very key. I was saying, what was it? When I was sitting watching the Sandman stuff on Netflix was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Good Omens and
Good Omens.
Good Omens, brilliant.
Yeah. Honestly, this list can go on. We'll be careful here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although to be honest, the two actors, Michael Sheen and Doctor Who. For the life of me, I can't remember his Doctor Who. He's going to love me for that. He's not going to.
I was going to say
he's not going to care.
We'll put that in.
I'll put it in the comments somewhere. Yeah, I'll edit him in. But no, it's brilliant show. Anyhow, enough of that. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for spending some time with us. It has been a lovely conversation. One of the things like I said, we do beforehand, and I came across a hint about this. Is we had a little conversation beforehand, obviously to let you know what was going on, and we started rambling into all kinds of ideas. And I'm always concerned when that happens, that we get to the stage where these are conversations we need to have in front of people because they're interesting, and other people need to hear about them. And this came from also from a quote when someone's talking when you were interviewing someone. If you're interviewing someone, don't have too much of a conversation beforehand, because you'll have the conversation you should be having in the interview.
That's right. That's
absolutely. Right. So I'm glad we still had a great conversation, and I'm sure we could.
Such fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm sure we can find plenty of time to do it again. And thank you very much for spending the time. I'm sure we will see you again, and I will have you along and we will talk about something else. I'm sure there's plenty.
Thank you so much for having me. I shall be looking out for the next one. I can't wait to see who you have next. I think this is going to become a really good Wednesday break for me. Absolutely.
Sometimes it'll just be me, so you'll be bored of me talking, but I will be encouraging more and more people to have an opportunity to come along. So if you're watching this and you come across this and you think it will be lovely to have a chat, then do say hi. I'd love to hear from you, because I'm a nosy also, and so on. I'd love to hear what everybody else is doing. So with that in mind, thank you very much for spending the time with us. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll sign up by saying I hope your second half is your best half.
Thanks very much indeed. Take care.
Ta-ra.
Bye.